practicing, because at first you might be like, oh, I don't know what I'm doing, but if you keep trying it, you'll start understanding all the points. Yeah.
W get it. Oh, we can get like all the.
Oh, what the hell?
Yeah, you don't need anything.
What directory is master?
All right, everyone, I'm gonna start showing answers for some of these. I think a lot of people found a lot of these, but for the hard ones, I'm gonna do the employee search at the end because that's a longer one. But for the targets wise, there were just 3 IP given, so I'm not gonna do nmap on them. I'm just gonna show which ones were public. So for example, if you go to this one, it will be a Jira instance in 8080. There are a couple of things you can look at. The Jira instance itself is pretty recent, so it doesn't have a lot of vulnerabilities. But if you start looking for like new feature that Jira has recently implemented, you'll see a new plugin called Service Desk. Now, what this is basically Jira wanted to make it easier for companies to get IT help, like support requests from customers, instead of sending it via like Zendesk or other instance. So they made their own. Once they did that, people started hacking it because Atlassian, aka the creators of Jira, have a bug bounty. So one of the hacker found a exploit for this specific version, which is Jira Service Desk 3.5.1. So if you're a hacker, if you find systems like these, you usually want to look for exploits for these kind of versions to see what you can do. So for example, what we're going to do is we're going to look for exploits related to that to see if we can identify something. So for people who got it or were close to it, how many found the exploit or like something related to this service? You guys got it. You guys got it too. All right. So if we look it up, there's like cybersecurity blogs. There's a bunch of these. And there's this one itself from Atlassian that stands out a lot, I think. And it tells you like how to investigate attempts of exploit. The reason they posted this blog is it's so like the vulnerability is so dangerous that you can do a lot of things with it. So I'll try to explain how Service Desk and Jira works. But for now, once you see it, you know that the exploit for this has been public. The hacker himself wrote the blog. He took it down now. I don't know why, but there are other exploits for it. So we also see something, a CVE number. So usually when I see an open source system, for example, Jira, FTP servers, HTTP, I tend to look for these kind of things to see if there's CVEs for those. Especially for this one, we know that 3.5.1 is vulnerable to that. So if you start looking for like, okay, I have the CVE, what do I do next? I'll start looking for exploits. And there are articles on it, and then you find this link, which is written by us. So this is actually an exploit that OSS wrote that you guys can actually use, and it's public. And here you'll see that there's a link, and then there's like the whole exploit URL. So before I actually jump into the exploit, I want to kind of talk about what this vulnerability is. So what happened here was Jira created Service Desk in a way that, think of these as like buildings. That's what I've been telling everyone here is Jira itself is for companies to use. So engineers can create internal trackers for it. Service Desk, however, is for customers. So if you need a help, you'll request it through Service Desk. So when they created the system, they split it in 2 different account systems. So one is for engineers, one is for Service Desk customers. So for example, if I go to the 45 IP, and if I try to go to things like, if I go here by default, it asks me for login. And another parameter for internal employees is, I believe this. So you see that when I go to this, it says you are not logged in and you do not have permissions. And that's for like engineers to log in. So Service Desk doesn't have that at all. With this path traversal, what you can do is from these 2 places. So you are a Service Desk user. If you are logged in, you can actually access all of these internal things by going to different paths of the website. So an example of like easier way to understand is 2 buildings, your Service Desk, there's the main building. You'll use path traversal, think of that as an underground tunnel, and you're going through that to the another building and to download info from there. So for this one, I think some people tried it here and it couldn't work for them at first because you have to be logged in. So you have to be in the Service Desk building before you can even access the main one. And the signing up process itself has a vulnerability. It's not fixed yet, and they do not verify emails. So you can just sign up as anyone you want. So once you sign up, you are in here, and then you'll do an attack. So you are on the building here called Service Desk/customer, and you'll do quotation mark, or sorry, dot and semicolon, and then you'll do slash dot dot semicolon slash. Now let's try going to browse projects. And this is where I blame our school IT. They block us because they think we're attackers. Thank you, Will. Why is this not sharing? Oh, there we go. So you see that now instead, like if I go to just secure projects on this IP, it says access denied. But if I do it from here, it actually gives me all the projects. So if you look at our exploit, what our exploit actually does for the bug bounty site one, so what this does is Jira has like bunch of APIs you can request to view internal stuff. So if you are an internal employee, you could hit like one of these queries and it will load a XML output. So like instead of JSON or like regular HTML, you'll get another system of output. So if I pass that in here, it will actually show me like recently created tickets. So at first, it doesn't work with 1 day because there's nothing created in less than 1 day. So we'll do 4 days now. And we'll see that it shows all the tickets that were created on the last 4 days. And this is something only an internal employee can see, because if I were to hit this direct endpoint on this pathway here, it will just show me that. It will not show me any results because I'm not logged in as the employee. But with the path traversal, I can make it think I'm logged in, and you can actually view internal stuff. So if I do flag, that's where you'll find the flag on that. And a trick I kind of wanted to show is if you want to try this on real companies, what you can do is do a Google Dork. So what Google Dork allows is you can search for specific things on Google. So for example, we know that this thing is running Jira Services 3.5.1, and we want to find it on all the companies. We'll just do in text, meaning on all the Google results, look for the text that says Jira Service Desk, and you'll say, I don't want to look for anything that says Atlassian.com because that's Atlassian's website and it is supposed to be secure. So you'll ignore all Atlassian domains here. And if you do, you'll find some companies like, for example, this website that actually is running. So they actually fixed it by disabling sign up. So you won't be able to attack it. But in real life, like if they had sign up, since they are running 3.5.1, you will actually exploit and download things. So you can find it on other companies and actually run these attacks. So that was the 45. I don't know what 23 is. Let's see. I believe that was Rocket Chat. Yeah. So the Rocket Chat is a super simple one. It's a internal IT or internal employees sign up page. And usually when you see things like Slack instance, internal chat, you want to attack the sign up page and see what you can do. So for example, if I click register a new account and give it just some random email, it will say the domain is invalid. So what that means is in this email, we're signing up with HackerOne.com, which is not one of the registered or whitelisted domains. So you want to attack it with a domain that is potentially allowed. So if you're attacking a company, let's say HackCorp.network, their domain is likely going to be allowed. So for example, if I try this, it'll think I have a valid one. And because it doesn't do email verification at all, you just use it and you can join the internal thing. So you're supposed to find a flag in here. There's a couple of ways you can do it. If you click directories, you'll find a channel, and there's a channel called flag. You just click on that, you see it. Another approach is you can look for like flag on here, and it will show you a channel that has that word, and you'll find the flag on it. So the reason I wanted to highlight this is you could find Rocket Chat that will allow this. Another example is, let's say it's like an e-commerce website, right? Like let's say Shopify Ticketmaster. How this works is sometimes they'll have QA team testing it on prod. So what they'll usually do is without email verification, if you are signed up with that company's email, they'll give you extra permissions. So let's say if Shopify is vulnerable, then you'll put jack@shopify.com. And if it doesn't verify email, you'll get more permissions than a regular user will. So that's something you want to always look at. Another thing, for example, if I go to, let's see, which one shall I do? Let's try HackerOne. Okay, I'm gonna do this one because I'm already on this. So if you go like in Slack, you can also use this as a way to identify companies that are in a domain. Is If I go to bugbountyforum.slack, it says if you have this email, you can sign up. So if Slack was vulnerable to this, I could just sign up with that email. And if they didn't verify that email, I could just log into this instance. So if you see any chat system outside of like Slack or anything, always try signing up with the company's email and see what you can do. Whether it's like Atlassian, Facebook, or others, if they don't verify emails, you can probably get access to a lot of internal data with this. In this case, it was simple chat service. So now we move to the little bit harder ones. So this one is a really cool one I built. So if you go here, it will just say the PDF app is working. Now you may not know what it is doing, so you could kind of piece it together with what it is doing by going to the engineering chat once you exploit, because they posted a message saying, hey, we're able to finish this invoice feature. And this is how it's supposed to look. So you know it's actually generating PDFs. And it tells you in this case, I wanted to make it super easy for everyone because I said, you can go here and just pass in these parameters and it will do it for you. So for example, if we go to /API gen PDF and then provide company equals Jack on Jack. It will actually generate a PDF based on my user input. So this is kind of a sign that there is something you could look at. And one of the most common thing is you want to try passing an HTML element like heading 1, bold, italicize, or any like underline, anything like that. The most common one I tend to do is change the font color. So you'll pass in like HTML element to change the color of the fonts and see if it actually works. So for example, here, if you can see, I'm passing in font, and I also wrote it down there, the font color equals. So I'll do font color %3D, which is the URL encoded value for equal sign. And then you'll do color, or you either did color, so red, and then we'll see what it does if we do that. So you'll notice all of the fonts on this are red color now. So what's going on in the background is it gets that HTML file, puts in my values there, renders it, and then makes it a PDF. So we know that everything is going on server side, everything is being rendered server side. So one of the really good part about server side rendering and HTML is iframes allow you to like locate windows or so different things. So for example, in my Mac, if I go to file, Etsy password, this is my Etsy password file. So this is like my local file. Now, if I were to pass this, I'll do Etsy host in this case. And if I create like a file called, if I create like iframe source equals Etsy host, what will happen is when I open the HTML, it will create a window and it will have the Etsy host printed on it. So you can see here, like it's showing me the part of the Etsy host here. And that's the really cool part about HTML is if it's doing anything server side, you can actually try rendering internal files. So your next phase of attack that now you know that it works is you'll change the font color part to things like iframe source equals or %3D file. Let's see if we can do Etsy host on this. So it's coming out empty. So we do know it's working, but the file might not exist or some errors going on. So in this case, the flag was just some flag.flag.txt or something. So if you hit it, you're able to see the flag right there. Another example is you could actually load the app source code by just doing app/app.py because it's a Python website. I think I'll give it T here. There we go. So if I do that, you can see it's actually loading the Python file that has the source code for it. So because it's able to read all the internal files. So those are the things you can do a lot. This is actually really common on banking websites. So you can usually have like a customer or like a company that will charge you some X amount. And when you generate a statement, they're doing it through PDF generators. So depends on how they do it. Sometimes if you create a fake company, put a HTML element as your company name, and then buy something off that company, it might actually work. It has worked on a couple of the banking apps, like major banking apps that I've tested. So it's most likely to work in other systems. Another example is school systems where, like, for example, I don't know if we are vulnerable or not, but like TDAs where it's generating PDFs for you. That's also something you want to look at. Usually you want to see if it's client side or server side. So in this case, we're able to do it this way. You can also identify if it's vulnerable or not by doing image source. How many of you know what image source means? IMG source. Yeah, so it renders an image on HTML, right? So if I were to give it, there are like websites like request bin where you can create something that is listening on your request, and you could go here, and if you do that, it will try to render the image server side. So we see that there's an error here because it's not a valid image, it's just a website, right? So now if I were to refresh this, you'll see it got a hit from the website, and the IP address is not mine, so I know for sure it's burnable because it also tells you it's from this IP, and then if you look at user agent, it tells you it's from WKHTML to PDF. So it's the library that it's using. Whenever you have cases like that, like SSRF or this kind of situation, if you pass an image source, it's a perfect way to identify where the hit is coming from because you'll have IP address of the server or other instance. Now that was that portion of it. I think employee search was the hardest one. So you're supposed to doubly fuzz it or like run directory brute force, and you'll find an admin directory. And now it says user parameter cannot be blank. So if I give it username equals admin, it'll say password is missing. Okay, let me give it password equals admin, and it still work. No, it does not, because the credentials are invalid. The reason is I made sure like it's a hard credential, so if you were to brute force it, it will take you probably years because it's, I think, like 16 character long or something. Instead, what you're supposed to do is find .git. So what I did here is companies tend to expose their .git folder online, and you can actually exploit those to like see the source code. Because right now we cannot see like index.php or other files, but you can see like commit messages, and you know they're adding things to this website. So if we look at things like, there's actually like articles written on this because CTFs love these kind of things. So you can see it says like, hey, here's the .git folder. You can access all of these instances. So how do you exploit different things for it? There are articles for that, like you can use different tools. So there's a tool called Git Tools, and we're actually going to use that for this. I haven't used it yet, so we'll see if we can get it to work. So it has, let's do extractor. Then let's try using it. So let's try following like how it is supposed to be used. So usually you want to follow like how they have done it. So they go to the just 4 lines and you have all your things. So let's try using the git dumper. So they have dumper there. You'll just csmod plus x git dumper. So you want to make it executable. And then let me just pass that in here. So let's make that editable. And we know already our website's name, so we can just go to that. I didn't give this out to you guys, so if you needed the website, there was a website pointing on all of this stuff. So you can see it's actually downloading all these files, and you can, afterwards, we can actually exploit this. So now what does the article say? Let's do git status and git checkout to see if it works. It says your branch is up to date, nothing to commit. So git checkout like that. Oh, I think I know what I did. So it created on my root instead. So I have tests, so I'll go there. Why is this not working? Okay, let's take a look at this. That should have worked. Let's try using this one. So we did, let's try using this technique. Git status, git folder, git checkout. I don't know. We'll see. So int.hackcorp.network. Like that. Yeah. Great. Oh. Where's that? I think I got it to work now. Okay, well, that didn't work. But anyways, see if I can make it to work. Are you stuck on the same one?
Use wget as well. It didn't work for us.
All right. I know it worked yesterday, so I'm going to try to figure it out right now. Excellent. Let me just use extractor.sh. Numbers. That's Let me just RSH into it. So let's use their extractor instead. I think that will work. I was going to try to do it manually, but that's too much. Temper this one. So we find it, we dump it. Oh. Let's try this instead. I think it works now. So we do dumper. Okay, that should have worked. Okay, grab those. Not sure what those are. Oh, there we go. So it was not working previously because when I did a git dump of this, their tool was not properly returned. So you have to make sure you get a folder, not a .get. And once you do that, you just run the extractor. And now we have these codes. So if we do cat index.php, we have the code for index.php that has admin and password. And now there's also another one called employee.php. If you look at this, let me make my font better, because this is crap. So what's the security issue here? Well, we already have the username and password that we need to use. We also know that it's vulnerable to RCE attack because it's taking your user input and it's going to try to do something with it. So it has like, it'll look for the user existing there and it will try to post whatever you send it there. So what you'll run on that case is, I'm going to use my server for this. So for example, I'm doing this. And I'm going to listen on my server on 8080. So if I go back to the RC CTF one, here I pass in the admin, and then I have the password already. I think I open Slack. So password, and for username, you'll pass in something like this. So what that is doing is, if I were to do, so you see here it's taking the root parameter and it's running a curl, and then it's going to export the flag.txt out of it. So because I'm already listening on my server here, I can just use that and grab it. Where's the employee? So I'll send that. I'll change 4556 this one to send it. And you can see it's freezing because it's sending a request here and we're able to get the flag. So if we do bird decode or base64 decode, we'll go here and we have the flag. And the reason is, if we look at the exploit, what it does is it curls our website, and within that it cats the flag.txt file and encodes it automatically to base64. So how it will hit is it will hit our website with the content, and then we can actually receive it and see data. So if we wanted to do like Etsy password, we could do the same thing and read internal files. I think that was pretty much all the flags. I did record all of these, so you still be able to have access to this after this meeting, and you guys can take a look at it again. The server will be up till like next week, and then I'll take it down. Thanks for coming, guys.